Welcome, everybody. We have another press briefing on our hands today. I anticipate that this one is going to be very interesting. This will be Kayleigh McEnany's first press briefing since Donald Trump claimed to be taking hydroxychloroquine for a couple of weeks now. This will be the first press briefing since Donald Trump's tweets of threats to both Nevada and Michigan over withholding money if indeed they decide to vote by mail, which is, of course, completely against federalism. It's completely against states' rights, which Donald Trump claims to be in favor of. So we're going to hopefully see questions on those issues and others to Kayleigh McEnany scheduled for the top of the hour, just 8 minutes from now, 7 minutes from now, I guess, but often starting late. The trend with Kayleigh McEnany has been she starts 30 to 40 minutes late and does only a 20 to 25-minute press briefing, very often a 5 or 6 minute statement, and then 15, 20 minutes of questions, often ending abruptly after a prepared response to what Trump would characterize as a nasty question. So we'll see if today follows that same pattern. We will be off on Memorial Day. There will be no new show with peace and love. No new show on Memorial Day. It'll be the first sort of like planned day off other than weekends for the show really of the year, because with the virus, we've just all been at home working. So we've just been doing the show. So Monday we will be off and we will be back with content on Tuesday. But we still got this stream. We've got tomorrow's show and bonus show, Friday show and bonus show, plenty to look forward to. Let me say an early and quick thank you to Ian Jaraz, because Ian just signed up on my website, joinpacman.com. That makes me predisposed to think Ian is a really good person. And that would be probably accurate in most cases. We'll get back to members momentarily. Let's get to some super chats. Those are starting to come in. They will eventually show up in that that gray box in the lower left of the screen. The first couple never do because they're kind of further up. Bernie Sanders asks, why do you prefer single payer over the public option? Oh, I've got dozens of videos on that. I'm not going to go into that now. Mart Fillion says, how are your favorite authors, fiction and nonfiction? They're doing well. No, I assume you mean who are. I have so many favorite authors that you'd really have to narrow it down. Like, science nonfiction versus narrative nonfiction, sci-fi versus crime versus. I read so much that it would be really, really hard to narrow it down. Jason Ealing says, bro, what was that tweet? I have no clue what you're talking about, Jason. I have no idea what you're talking about. I apologize. You're going to have to be a little more specific than that. A little more specific than that. And remember, if you are watching on YouTube, always, always, always like and subscribe. Very, very important. Let's go over to Twitch momentarily. I want to say thanks to Smashcan, as well as UK Marxism DLC Failed. That's a mouthful of a username, for subscribing with Twitch Prime. Very much appreciate it, and really love that Twitch is doing better and better from the standpoint of followers. Twitch is doing better than better. As many of you know, I've been on YouTube for years. I've only been on Twitch for 9 months, and we've got about 35,000 Twitch followers, which is great. It's a great start, and it's just a work in progress. Over back on YouTube, thanks to Bjorn Eric Knutson, who has upgraded his membership to beta. Hello. Justin Coran says via Super Chat, biggest fear is a Biden win energizes Trumpists and centrists become complacent, and we lose the House and more of the Senate in the midterms, then lose the presidency in 2024. Well, you're thinking very, very far ahead. That's not a bad thing, but let's worry about this election right now. Barney McDanfake says, David Pacman misspelled my last name. How are your tomatoes? They're good. I have a video of a full urban garden tour on my phone, which I filmed. I haven't uploaded it yet. Actually, I did upload it. If you follow me on Library, that's lbry.tv, and you should. If you follow me there and make sure to say I referred you, I have a full 2.5 minute, really almost a 3-minute garden tour of everything. I show people my cukes. I expose my tomatoes. I show people my sprouts. I mean, I'm lifting the veil off of everything, but I've not yet posted that anywhere sort of like more mainstream, I guess I would say. Donna Williams says, do you think Trump is really taking hydroxy? I actually doubt it. If you said, David, you are going to be able to know for sure, do you bet that he's taking it or bet that he's not? I would probably bet that Trump is not taking hydroxychloroquine, as he says it. Oh, by the way, did you notice Trump glitched yesterday at one point? Did you notice this? Trump seemed to forget the name of the drug.
And just so you understand, great studies came out of Italy on hydroxy. You know what I'm talking about, right? Right? Great studies came out.
So he seemed to lose his train of thought there. And then this one was also weird.
Many doctors, many doctors came out.
Let me look at hydroxy just one more time. I like this one.
And just so you understand, great studies came out of Italy on hydroxy. You know what I'm talking about, right? Right? Great studies came out.
So anyway, that was yesterday. And then here's Trump calling a reporter rude and saying that's enough of you. This was yesterday.
So I'm very disappointed in China. Yeah.
China.
Just to follow up, you've been talking about possible retaliation for that. Are you any closer to a decision on that, sir?
I don't talk about retaliation. Go ahead.
Mr. President, why haven't you announced a plan to get 36 million unemployed Americans back to work?
Nasty.
You're overseeing historic economic despair. What's the delay? Where's the plan?
I think we've announced a plan. We're opening up our country. Just a rude person you are. We're opening up our country. The plan is that each state is opening, and it's opening up very effectively. And when you see the numbers, I think even you will be impressed, which is pretty hard to impress you. Yeah, go ahead, please.
A lot of these jobs are not coming back.
That's enough of you. That is enough of you. No more of you. So anyway, that was yesterday, and today we're standing by for the Kayleigh McEnany press briefing. Thanks to Political Puppy for the Twitch subscription. Has been subscribed for 6 months. Absolutely love it. Let's deal with a few other YouTube super chats, as I call them. Per Tiren says, live long and prosper, my friend. May your psyche be strong in this trying times. Love from Sweden. Great to hear from you, Per. Adam White says, what do you think of the handful of scientists, state workers coming out saying they were, cough, requested to alter state COVID numbers? I report about the Florida case today on the show, and if even 5% of what is being alleged is true, it's sick. Absolutely sick. Bernie Sanders says, why do you take super chats when you don't answer questions? This is Alex Jones. I have been off for a few weeks. I am back at trolling you. Yeah, it's because I just don't answer questions from people that I know are trying to either derail the stream or get me to attack other YouTubers or just get me off on tangents. The streams are not the same as my YouTube clips. If I'm going to do, 15 minutes on public option as we get to close to a start, public option versus Medicare for all, I'm going to be fully prepared with notes and research. I'm not going to go off the cuff on something so serious when we're just doing a live event here. And I didn't know that Bernie Sanders was the user who used to troll me as Alex Jones, but I inferred that it was just someone trying to derail me. So that's the answer. Alexander the Snivy says, remember that we still have to get through 2020's hurricane season, which is predicted to be an extremely active season in light of climate change. Yes, we still have potentially many hurricanes coming up ahead of us. Let me say thank you to, who am I saying thank you to here? Ardella Forrest is new member number 2 today on my website, joinpacman.com. And Matt Loughran is new member number 3 today at joinpacman.com. Very, very much appreciate your support. Thank you so much. Really, really do appreciate that. It's been a tough couple months for the show, and thanks to members signing up during the streams and in general, we have been buoyed. Buoyed is the way I like to put it. Paul Newman says, no offense to the monkey. In times of COVID-19 and climate change, you have to do what you have to do. Forget about the monkey. Take care of the issues that matter. I have no clue what that means. I have absolutely no idea what that means. Ken Clive says, out of many good things to come out of Italy, Ferrari designed an open source, low cost ventilator anyone can build. Formula One teams have repurposed their factories to make PPE as well. I've read a little bit about that, and that is fantastic news. So I'm noticing that 2 reporters just left the room. Can anybody get me an update as to whether the streaming has been delayed? because usually when people leave, it's a sign that it may have been postponed. I mean, I'll be here, but I'm just curious if anybody knows why they both just left the room. Usually they stay in the room if they're about to start. Let's see if I can look at press secretary Twitter. Sometimes they announce there. Let's take a look here. Kayleigh, McEnany did not tweet anything about that. So I'm not seeing that there. And doesn't seem like anybody else knows about that for sure. Okay, if anybody knows, maybe send it to me via super chat and get my attention that way. White House still says 3 p.m. Yeah, I know. Still says. I know that the White House rarely changes the schedule at this late stage, but sometimes there's like a tweet that somebody will announce a change or something like that. Okay, very good. Barry McDanfake, or Barney McDanfake says, I feel terrible for misspelling your name. Here's a $5 apology. Thanks for all your hard work, Mr. Pac-Man. Thank you. Jason Ealing says the OnlyFans tweet. Sorry, got being specific. Oh, yeah. I jokingly tweeted earlier because some people on stream told me to make an OnlyFans account. So I tweeted earlier. So I made an OnlyFans account because viewers told me to. What happens next? And somehow 1,100 people liked it. And somebody said here, wait, are you being serious or is this my sense of humor absent the moment? I looked into what it is and I determined it's not the right thing for me. So no, I am not going to be posting content on OnlyFans. But the tweet did very, very well. From the standpoint of likes, the tweet did very, very well. Let me say thank you to Kay Hendrick. Listen, if I really made the account, I would have linked to it and said, follow me, right? I mean, I'm not going to waste an opportunity for promotion. You all know that. Kay Hendricks is new member number 4 today on my website at joinpacman.com. Thank you. I appreciate that. Remember that if you are watching on Twitch, there's this, and even if you're not, quite frankly, there's something called Twitch Prime, okay? If you have Amazon Prime, which I know many of you do, every month, Twitch gives you 1 free subscription that you can use, all right? You pay nothing, but for me, it counts as a paid subscription. You've got to link up your Amazon and Twitch accounts. You go to twitch.amazon.com. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Kayleigh just did it and is our newest Twitch Prime subscriber. And it's something I would encourage people to do from the perspective of supporting independent media. I'm Inconsolable also just gifted 5 subscriptions, which is delightful, delightful. Okay, Kamala Reichert says, my understanding is that hydroxy is given to our soldiers as a preventative measure before going overseas. For malaria, I would imagine. If you're saying, Kamala, that it's being given prophylactically to soldiers for COVID-19, I would want to hear about that. Dan Samoflange says, hi, David, will you do a segment on Lawrence Ham in New Jersey? He's a Bernie progressive running against Booker. Haven't heard of it. I will look into it. Per Tiran says, those who left were going to make a mini journalist delivery time 9 months. I love Per. He's one of our biggest supporters from Sweden, but I often don't know what Per is talking about. Zaylor Avon says, when you won the Raj Royale, you were worried that Destiny was going to a fan meetup. With fan meetups, does the parasocial aspect make you feel weird? No. In my experience, what's tough about fan meetups, I've talked to Jay Tomlinson, host of Best of the Left podcast, about this. I don't want to get stuck in the corner with someone who sort of like lacks the social understanding that there's a bunch of people who want to say hi to me. I don't want to get stuck in the corner with one person the whole time who tries to manipulate my time. And I have a few strategies for getting out of it. But I've had this conversation with Jay from Best of the Left. He doesn't even seem to notice. Like Jay, once we did a joint Young Turks, Best of the Left, David Pakman, I think Sam Cedar meetup. Hilariously, Sam, I think, didn't go to his own meetup. If I recall correctly, this was at a conference one year, might have been, where was it? Minnesota or, God, I don't remember where it was. Somewhere anyway. We did a joint meetup. If I recall correctly, it was a Sam Cedar, David Pakman, Best of the Left TYT meetup. Sam didn't even go to his own meetup. Can you imagine a more alpha move than not going to your own meetup? It was stunning. But anyway, Jay just will talk to one person for 2 hours. And then after I'll be like, so were you like stuck with that guy? Stuck? What do you mean? So no, that's not my concern with meetups. The parasocial aspect, it's not that. There are a number of other concerns, and that is not one of them. Adrian Benningfield says a good book series is Chronicles of Amber. I have not heard of that. Let me say thank you to Wagner Rock for subscribing on Twitch, Chiroshi, Chafe Girl, Paul McCrory, all of whom have subscribed over on Twitch. Very much appreciate that. Also want to say thank you to James Engel, who is new member number 5 today, and Natalie Linton, who is member number 6 at joinpacman.com. Very much appreciate your support. Mart Fillion says, what do you think about the orange buffoons saying that if they tested less, then they would have fewer cases? In a literal sense, we would have fewer confirmed cases. Of course, testing doesn't change the number of cases you actually have. People are saying my audio is low? No, it seems it's at the normal level. I don't see any, nothing's changed. Nothing's changed for the last several months on audio. From the standpoint of audio levels, I think we're okay. Zesty African says, the standpoint of water or the orange talk from Trump. Also just graduated from KU. These streams are a gift. Awesome. I don't know what KU is. Is that Kansas University? Congratulations, though. Mr. Lieutenant Pink says, David, if you're looking for book reconnections, I highly recommend the sci-fi works of Ian Banks. I've read a little bit of his work. Very clever with lots of political themes. Ian Banks, I think I've read one of his books. He's very, very good. Peter F. Hamilton is excellent. Yeah, a lot of good fiction out there. Right now, let me mention this. So here's a book recommendation. I'm in touch with the author Elliot Pepper. That's with 1 P. Pepper with 1 P. And he sent me an advance copy of his new book out today, Vail, V-E-I-L, like, Vail, not like Vail, Colorado, V-E-I-L. I am like 10 pages from finishing it. It's great. The book is out today. So if you grab it, it's free with Kindle Unlimited on Amazon, or you can buy it on Kindle or the paper book. I'm still on paper books, quite frankly. Send him a tweet. Send Elliot a tweet and say, I got your book because of David Pakman's recommendation. I get nothing for it. I just like building community. I love it when, like, I've recommended people go to Michael's Deli in Brookline, Massachusetts. People go in and they say to Steve, it's Michael's Deli, but the owner is Steve. I'm here because of David Pakman, and it's great. I get nothing free from it. I get nothing out of it. But we're building community. We're building community. The book is Veil by Elliot Pepper. Let me say thank you to CGuess85 for subscribing over on Twitch Prime. Thank you very much. We are standing by for Donald Trump's press secretary, Kayleigh McEnany. Should be starting very, very soon. We are 10 minutes late, meaning we're probably 25 to 20 minutes from the start. That's where we are right now. Philistotle says, Rogan moving exclusively to Spotify. What are your thoughts? I don't really have any thoughts. I mean, it's clearly a business decision. I'm sure he did it because it's the right decision for him at this time. I don't have any problem with Spotify or YouTube or, it seems like an interesting move. Zaylor Avon says, my apologies for being slow to respond calling in. Called from Skype, so the area code wasn't one I was expecting. I'm from Rhode Island, right south of you. Okay, I don't know exactly what you're referring to, but maybe we had a missed connection, so to speak, on the phone lines. I'm not really sure. Keith Sweat has subscribed with Twitch Prime and says, thoughts on progressives turning on Obama? His presidency had issues, but how productive is that whole conversation at this point in time? Completely unproductive. Listen, some progressive turned on Bernie. Some progressives turned on Obama. I don't care what people do as long as they own the consequences. That's all I want. And be intellectually honest about what you are doing and why you are doing it. S. Jimenez has subscribed with Twitch Prime as well, and I very, very much appreciate that. Let me invite you, consider yourself personally invited to support these streams and all of our work by grabbing a membership on my website, joinpacman.com. I get a very frequent email I get is, listen, David, you've got Twitch, you've got Patreon, you've got, YouTube, all this stuff. I'm getting bashed over the head. I'm punch drunk. I don't know how to support you most directly. The best way is my website. There is no intermediary. There's no one taking a big slice, 5, 10, 30% slices that some of these platforms take. Throw that in the trash. Throw that in the trash, bring it out to the curb, get that out of here. The best way to support us, all of us who work on the show, is with a membership on my website. We're talking $2 a month. We're talking $1.80 a month if you pay for the entire year at once, if you use that coupon code in blue text above my head. Let me look at that. Wait, it's over here. Yeah. Yep, there it is. 2020 now, you save 66%. Okay. It takes under a minute to sign up. Everybody gets a thank you. We have a very modest goal of 25 today. And I'll actually do so. So here, let me do something as an extra incentive or disincentive, depending on your perspective. People have been pointing out that my hair is getting very long and talking about a man bun. I've independently confirmed over the weekend that a man bun is possible right now. And I've been saying I would do it if we get to 50 new members on a stream. Forget about 50. We've not made it to 50 at all this week. If we just get to 25 today, next stream I will have a man bun. And I want to mention that I may be getting a haircut next week. So we probably only have a few streams of opportunity remaining for what we are going to call the man bun stream. And if you don't want that to happen, also become a member, because then we'll get it out of the way and then you don't have to hear about it anymore. And I think that is probably the best bet for everybody. So that's what we have on the table right now, so to speak. Okay, let me get back to, I'll do a couple Twitch thank yous. Yuli Dam has subscribed with Prime, and Typical College Stud has also subscribed with Prime. Over on YouTube Super Chats, let's see here. Adam White says, what do you think of businesses asking for 24 weeks of PPP loan paybacks and forgiveness, but T-Boys gang saying 10 to 12 weeks should be fine? They don't know what's going on. The business owners know what's going on. I would defer to the business owners for sure. We do have a level 4 hype train happening on Twitch right now. We have 30 seconds left to close out level 4, and we're 78% of the way there. We may be able to do it. Let's just take 25 seconds just to see if it happens, because we've not completed level 4 for weeks at this point. 17 seconds to go, 78% of the way there. Could we do it? 10 seconds to go. Oh boy, it's about to not happen. 5 seconds to go. And we did it. We did it. We made level 4 has been completed on a Twitch hype train. Unbelievable. Thanks to Xanamax and Amundin and She's a Lion Dog. Unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. We have not achieved that for a very, very long time. And, level 5 is happening now. We've got 5 minutes on level 5. And I think we just did that. I don't know what's going on. Things are blinging and blanging, and I don't know what's going on. Okay, very good. We did it. We did the hype train. Let's see what else is on folks' minds. Waffles Giraffles says, I thought McEnany was pretty spot on. Yeah, I like Kayleigh McEnany, like M-A-G-A nanny. She's kind of like the nanny for Trumpists. I think that it's a good one. I like it. Per Tiran says, have you read Stephen Donaldson? The 6 books of The Unbeliever is read to shreds, and now I shall buy hardback instead. Warning, the books are dystopic with lots of self-pity, but I love them. I have not read those books, Per. I have not. Matthias Germany says, two questions. Meat or Beyond Meat, Coke or Diet Coke? I've tried some of the elements of Beyond Meat. I didn't like it. I eat very, very little red meat. But as many of you know, I don't eat pork. I have found, so I used to love kielbasa. Okay. But I haven't eaten pork for, I guess 6 years. And, I recently found turkey kielbasa. Absolutely fantastic. Threw it on the grill last week with a little brown spicy mustard after the fact. You don't grill the mustard, you just dip after. Wow. Wow. Absolutely incredible. I think I had 3 elements of kielbasa, and it was really, really good. Coke or Diet Coke? I haven't had a soda in, I think, also like 6 or 7 years. So, I mean, I don't know much about it. If you make me choose, whatever is sweetening Diet Coke, I think is worse for you than the corn syrup in Coke. If I had to pick, I would say a foreign Coke, what I call Latin American Coke or European Coke, where it's sweetened with sugar rather than corn syrup. That's the way I would go with that. But listen, if I'm wrong that whatever Diet Coke is sweetened with is bad, I haven't had a soda in 6 years. I don't know anything about it. Don't come. It's like, you don't come to me for UFC commentary. You don't come to me for soda commentary because I know nothing about it. A bacon lover says, speaking of pork, why do you not pause the stream when fact checking? If I did that, it would just take too long. We would fall further and further behind live. And I've made the decision that I will just mute or kind of talk over to fact check. That's the decision for now. Once I did the pausing and people got to me and said, it's taking too long to get through the event. Like the event is doubling or tripling in duration. And, a lot of people don't have time for that sort of thing. So it was a judgment call. I completely admit it was a judgment call, but that's the way we've done it. And also I want to thank Scott Christensen for signing up on YouTube at the soy boy level. Very, very much appreciate that. Okay. Let me say a few other thank yous to folks who have signed up on my website. Who do we have here? Amy Richardson is new member number 7 today. Thank you, Amy. I appreciate that. Alejandro Soto is number 8 today at joinpacman.com. Samantha Marks is new member number 9 today. Thank you, Samantha. Greg Watts is new member number 10. Number 11 today is Maggie Vasquez, number 11. Lucky 11. Jackie Hayes is new member number 12 at joinpacman.com. And then Regina Teichen, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, is number 13. And lastly, for now, Albert Cohen is new member number 14 today, 14. The target is 25. And if we get there, my next stream will be done with a man bun. And this could be an absolutely critical mistake for my career, but I'm going to do it because I've promised it, and I will. It will be one time and one time only, and then that's going to be it. It's going to be over. We're not going to keep. We're not going to keep the man bun stuff going on. Let me say a few thank yous over on Twitch. Orion has gifted 5 subscriptions. Chiroshi has cheered again. Zorloth has subscribed with Twitch Prime. And I believe I already thanked Amundin and Zanemax or Zanamax, I think. And if I'm thanking you a second time, then all the better. All the better. Let's look at the latest official COVID numbers. We'll keep the audio up just so we don't miss the start of this great event, an event of truth and transparency. The official global coronavirus cases have now surpassed 5 million and 327,000 deaths. Nearly 2 million people have recovered. If we look at yesterday's numbers, in the middle of the day, the numbers don't tell us much because different countries report at different times. If we look at yesterday, the USA, again, number 1 in new cases, although Brazil is really giving us a run for our money, both in cases and deaths. Brazil, Russia, and India. I've been watching these countries for 10 to 14 days. There were early signals that they were going in the very much wrong direction. And indeed, Brazil, Russia, and India doing very, very poorly, very, very poorly. Saudi Arabia increasingly having a problem. Mexico now is regularly in the top cases. So we're seeing a little bit of a transition. The constant is U.S. number 1 in cases, U.S. number 1 in deaths. That's a constant. But we are seeing a shift from Italy, Spain, and the UK right up there. They have moved down, and instead we are seeing Brazil, Russia, India. Peru is having a real problem. Chile, Saudi Arabia, Mexico. So we're seeing a little bit of a changing of the guard, so to speak. Here in the United States, we're approaching 1.6 million official cases, and we are just a few days from a tragic milestone of 100,000 deaths. Again, looking at yesterday, the most new cases, now California taking the top spot, followed by Maryland and Illinois. For a long time, it was New York and New Jersey that were at the top. Massachusetts also often at the top. But we have thankfully started to improve. Let's just look just to pick one state. This is my state of Massachusetts. If you look at the trajectory here, it's improving. It's improving when it comes to new cases. When we look at deaths, also, if you look at a rolling average, those numbers are improving. So that's the data there. In terms of testing, I'm not going to, give you BS about the total number of tests, which really tells us very little. We again tested right around 400,000 people yesterday. It's certainly better than 200,000. It's certainly better than 100,000. We need to be somewhere between 1.5 and 3 to 5 million tests a day, depending on who you ask. And we are only a fraction of the way there. So that is all, of course, very, very unfortunate. And we need a lot more testing before we are going to be really in a good place to safely reopen restaurants and a lot of these other parts of society, for lack of a better term. Let me say thank you to Daniel Busha, who is new member number 15 today at joinpacman.com. Thank you, Daniel. So appreciate your support. Also, Deanna Barcosi, I hope is the right pronunciation, is new member number 16 today at joinpacman.com. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Let me answer a few other questions coming in via Super Chat here. Bacon Lover says, talking over the misinformation is a big pork move. Couldn't say it better myself. And Rob has subscribed on YouTube at the soy boy level. People asking about YouTube subscription versus website subscription. So website subscription gets you access to the member part of my website, the full commercial-free show, the bonus show, members-only newsletter, etc., etc. YouTube subscription mostly gets you cool badges next to your chats in the feed and a couple of other things. And we also have some pretty high levels of support on YouTube. Okay, people are filing back into the press room, so that seems to bode well. Unknown Prodigy asks, do you wear contacts and what is your favorite color? Do you mean what's my favorite color in general or what's my favorite color of contact? I wear clear contacts. Just, they're not, I don't know if these are two different questions. I don't have a favorite color. Cerulean would be up there, but I don't really have a favorite color. That's a joke, by the way. And I do wear contact lenses. It would be very, very difficult to see all of these screens if I did not have contacts on. Shred315 says, even if I don't agree with some things you do, I appreciate your work. Cuídate mucho. Way is slang for dude in Mexico. Got it. Lisa B says, do you think Dems canceling election in New York and Georgia Republicans canceling election for judge seat, we are setting a precedent for Trump to cancel November election? Listen, Trump can't cancel the November election because we have federalism. There are 50 elections and you would need to have 50 different governors try to cancel them. But what I said this on day one, and by the way, a judge said that the New York primary has to happen. So that is back on. What's happening in Georgia, we have to see. If you fear Trump is going to try to pull funny business in November because of coronavirus, like even if you fear that he will try, why would you cancel a primary? That's an unprecedented step. Why would you do it? I thought it was a boneheaded decision in New York. It's been undone by a judge. And we'll see what happens in Georgia. But terrible, terrible decision. Completely disagree with it. Neo Panther Chick has subscribed with Twitch Prime. Thank you so much. Very much appreciate it. Also want to say thank you to, let me see if I can get this right, Gino Gianeschi, or Gianeschi, who is new member number 17 at joinpacman.com. Ryan Ernst is new member number 18 today at joinpacman.com. And Evan Tyval is new member number 19. You know what? I sort of regret now saying that I would do a man bun stream if we get to 25. because we actually might make it now. And I may very quickly regret that, but I obviously can't take it back now. I could delete the record of this stream and pretend I never said it, but it's probably too late for that at this point. Thank you to FP Vigilante for subscribing with Twitch Prime, and Minehost86, as well as Captain Aiko, all of whom have subscribed with Twitch Prime. I see a lot of people who are skeptical that I could even do a man bun right now. I absolutely could. I tested it over the weekend, and my hair is now 5 days longer. But I don't know if you can see. I've got something there, which could absolutely become a man bun. It could absolutely happen, and it may happen if things continue the way they are going right now. Okay, it looks like we're getting closer to the start of today's press briefing. Let's take a quick look as a lot of reporters are filing in. What is happening on Twitter? Press secretary. What does press secretary say on Twitter? No update on the timing, but we're about a half hour late. So my guess is that it's going to start pretty soon as people continue to file in. Our friend here, I don't know this guy's name, but our friend from Bloomberg has stepped in, and someone's raising their hand here. I don't know what that's about, but that's interesting. I think we're going to get started very, very soon here. From the standpoint of time, we're going to get started very, very soon. Okay, Bing says, what line crossed would equal extremist action? I have no idea what that question means. Mexicano TV says, drop that OnlyFans link. That was a joke, guys. Yeah, so some people are wondering about that. Earlier today, I tweeted, so I made an OnlyFans account because viewers told me to. What happens next? It was a joke. You all know that I am very much into promoting stuff. If I was really on OnlyFans, I would have included a link to it. And I didn't, because I don't actually have an OnlyFans to promote. So it is just a joke, nothing to worry about. No OnlyFans is going on. Honestly, just follow me on Instagram. That's where I'm posting the garden tours. That's where I'm posting. I posted a very interesting video of, actually, let me see if I can find that. Do we have time for this? Instagram.com/David.Pacman. I'll show you guys this just while we wait for the stream to get going. I posted video of myself peeling a watermelon and dicing it. And I guess I did everything wrong. Check this out. So I'm going right in there with a knife. I was told I'm using the wrong kind of knife, that this is the wrong way to cut up a watermelon. It's like, I know, this is just a funny way to do it, guys. I understand. Someone said I shouldn't throw away the peel, that I should pickle it. I guess I wasted peel. What else was I told? That my knife technique was no good, that my hair looked stupid, that my shirt looked stupid, that it doesn't look like I've been working out. Like, I did everything wrong, apparently, in this video. I'm complete. It's a shock I can even get my equipment turned on in the morning, right? According to a lot of people responding. Oh, I didn't realize I needed a really big container, and that I had all of these different containers, and subsequently they were filled up, and I needed more and more containers. Guys, just a 1-minute video of me cutting up a watermelon. We don't need to, this is not critical. This is not spreading coronavirus. This has nothing to do with vaccines. This has nothing to do with national security. It's just fruit. Just fruit, And I did try a couple of pieces there. So that was that. But, if you're looking for OnlyFans type content, as best as I can gather, just follow me on Instagram, because that's where you get high quality content like that. Aaron Dada says, happy birthday, David. Thank you. I don't know if you're 3.5 months late or 8.5 months early, but I always appreciate messages of happy birthday, even if they don't really line up with time, I guess, so to speak. A couple other people that I want to thank. Joshua Gilcrease is new member number 20 today at joinpacman.com. KJ Jenkins is new member number 21. George Lynch is new member number 22. James Graham is new member number 23. I'm going to have to do my hair in a man bun next stream, aren't I? Because it looks like we're certainly heading in the direction of 25 new members today, and then it's going to have to happen. Unknown Prodigy says, happy birthday from me too. I guess thank you. But again, it's been months since my birthday. It's months until my birthday. I don't know what that is, what that is all about. There were people I saw asking me to do an over-under for how quickly Kayleigh McEnany will lie. So her second press briefing, we set it at 3 minutes, and I took the over stupidly. She lied like 20 seconds in. So then the next press briefing, we did it at 20 seconds, and she lied 12 seconds in. And then we haven't done it since because it's like usually the first thing she says is a lie. So it's just a waste. There's not even a point in doing an over-under on Kayleigh's first lie because it's often like sometimes the first sentence is a lie and then it's like, I guess it was 3 seconds. I don't know. Tina6993 has subscribed on YouTube, and Boogerface, very mature, says, just wanted to say, I like your hair. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much. Ryan Ernst and Per Tiran also sending me happy birthday wishes, which of course I love. Can't help but remind you that you're a little bit late. Little Fox says, hey David, sorry that I cannot be a new member. Apology accepted. Apology accepted. Not a big deal. Totally acceptable and fine. A better over-under for these would be, does it go more or less than 22 minutes? Because some of these press briefings have been insanely short, where Kayleigh McEnany will make like a 5 or 6 minute presentation and only take like 15-ish minutes of questions. She answers them pretty quickly and succinctly. So the over-under on the duration of the entire event might be more interesting. Like, let's just imagine, if I said 23 minutes, do we think this will go longer or shorter than 23 minutes today? I don't know. I really have no idea. But we are going to certainly keep an eye on a lot of people saying under 23 minutes. That's interesting. Oh, people are asking, what is an over-under? Okay. Over-under would be like if you wanted to bet, I would say, okay, the over-under is 22. You have to either bet that it will be under 22 or over 22. So sometimes like in sports betting, you can do an over-under on the combined score. So like the two teams together in football will score 30 points. You could take the over or the under. Doesn't matter who scores the points. If it's 30-1, the over wins. If it's 16-15, the over wins. That's what we talk about when we say an over-under. I mean, I think it's good that a lot of my audience doesn't know about sports betting. That actually kind of bodes relatively well. I like that. Yeah, I don't bet on anything. So, I happen to know about some of this stuff, but I don't bet on any of this stuff. Let me say thank you to Owl Aquatic, who says happy unbirthday. The Empress AR says have a very merry unbirthday. Sinful Solution says happy early birthday for next year. Wow, that's interesting. And I want to say thanks to Danny Belmonte, who is new member number 24 today. We are now just one member from me having to wear my hair in a man bun for the next stream that I do. We're getting extraordinarily close, and I think I just have to concede that it's probably going to happen, and I will be, it will be a very different David Pakman on the next stream. Baron Steuben says, if Biden wins, should Ruth Bader Ginsburg retire immediately? She declined to retire under Obama. Well, she should wait for Biden to become president, right?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to begin by detailing the historic private-public partnership effort launched by the Trump administration to combat the coronavirus. As both a businessman and as president, you'll all remember then candidate Donald Trump, now President Donald Trump, being adamant about bringing manufacturing jobs back to America.
Right.
President Obama and the Democrats had given up on manufacturing, with President Obama's erroneously prediction that Trump would need a magic wand in order to bring back American jobs. jobs.
So that's not grammatical, erroneously prediction. That's weird.
Manufacturing in this country, and he tore up disastrous trade deals that hemorrhaged American jobs, like NAFTA and like the plan that was in work, the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Instead, he put in place better trade deals to bring back American jobs and to bring back American manufacturing. And in the battle against the invisible enemy, President Trump took action to shore up our domestic supply chains in order to deliver the necessary PPE and other medical equipment to the states. Speaker Pelosi and House Democrats are currently promoting a $3 trillion liberal wish list among a litany of Democrat priorities immaterial to the coronavirus crisis are embedded in this.
I think both the Wicked Witch of the East and West are on that list.
Medical supplies response coordinator who would, quote, serve as the point of contact for the healthcare system, supply chain officials, and the states on medical supplies. I'm happy to report this individual already exists. This bill ignores reality because
she's in what we call a script coma, where she's reading her notes with strange inflection because she doesn't even really understand what she's saying.
More than 1 billion, I should say, pieces of PPE to countries and hospitals across the country. Since March 29th, Rear Admiral John Plovchek, Vice Director for Logistics for the Joint Chiefs, has been on the job as the head of FEMA's Supply Chain Stabilization Task Force. This is a historic partnership with the private sector, and under the leadership of President Trump, FEMA directed the greatest mobilization of the private sector since World War II. Rear Admiral Plovchek and FEMA quickly realized the power of the private sector in addressing the coronavirus, recognizing that the 6th largest private sector medical distributor.
So this is like just the corporatist part of all of this. A lot of money being made on coronavirus is essentially what she's saying.
Billion pieces of PPE in a single week. That is extraordinary volume by our private sector.
Notice that these numbers are meaningless, like pieces of PPE. So like each glove is a piece of PPE. These numbers mean nothing in the abstract.
9 a.m., Rear Admiral Plovchek's team huddles with the 6 large private sector medical distributors. And together they review data compiled by Dr. Birx as well as information provided by the CDC to set priorities and ensure sufficient levels of supplies go down not just to the county level, but to the hospital level. After focusing geographically, Rear Admiral Plovchek and his team orients the data to set point-of-care distribution priorities for public hospitals, VA and DoD facilities, private hospitals, nursing homes, acute care clinics.
We should have done an over-under on how many times she uses the phrase Rear Admiral. I didn't know that would be a thing.
Plovchek and his team were able to combine data streams, utilize supply chain visualization tools from DoD, and input data into the cloud. This system is now available to generate reports for governors showing what their state received from the federal government and commercial partners all the way down to the hospital level, as I noted. And thanks to President Trump and his administration, governors now have visibility as to where their supplies are sent and where they're received. And from March 1st through May 10th, this public-private partnership has led to the delivery, and these are extraordinary numbers, of over 113 million N95 respirator masks, nearly 500 million surgical masks, nearly 18 million face shields, and over 12 billion gloves. That is a lot of PPE, and we thank our private sector partners for engaging in this effort with us. Also, I just wanted to note that earlier today, the president held an hour-long call with thousands of Hispanic community, business, and faith leaders across the country. He recognized the many contributions of the Hispanic community to our country and addressed important issues like how to reopen their businesses and build the greatest economy in history.
Did he bring up those taco salads he loves?
Before I take questions, I just wanted to note on a separate note that I wanted to acknowledge the passing of Ravi Zacharias, a renowned Christian apologist who left this world yesterday. Our prayers are with Ravi's family during this time.
Weird person to mention at the press briefing.
And as my father said, Billy Graham was the great evangelist and Ravi Zacharias was the great apologist. And we are all thinking about him and holding him close to our hearts and his family today. And with that, I'll take questions. John.
Kayleigh, what does the president believe is illegal about the Secretary of State of Michigan sending out absentee ballot applications, and what federal funding is he considering withholding from the state of Michigan as a result?
Perfect question.
So, I won't get into exactly what the funding considerations are. I would note that his tweets were meant to alert Secretary Mnuchin and Mr. Vogt about, head of OMB, about his concerns with trillions of dollars going to these states and his noted concerns about a lot of fraud that is potentially at play when you have mass mail-in voting.
God, that's
so
BS.
with regard to the illegality and legality of it, that's a question for the campaign as to their voting.
It's a question for a lawyer, maybe. She happens to be a lawyer.
This tweet was meant to alert OMB. He wanted to be very careful as we send trillions of dollars to states that we keep this important point in mind and we ensure that there's fairness in our voting system and absolute accuracy.
Answer.
But the president himself has voted just 2 months ago by a mail-in ballot. There are several Republican states that are also doing these mail-in applications for ballots. And so I'm confused. What is it that he thinks is illegal that's happening in Michigan? He doesn't really specify.
So first, with regard to the president doing a mail-in vote, the president is, after all, the president, which means he's here in Washington. He's unable to cast his vote down in Florida, his state of residence. So for him, that's why he had to do a mail-in vote. But he supports mail-in voting for a reason. When you have a reason that you are unable to be present.
Yeah, avoiding coronavirus is a valid reason, according to Texas judge.
I'm glad that you have the prediction tool and you can tell us what will be happening on November 3rd, 2020. I certainly don't, nor does the president.
Primaries coming up, and that's like what's happening in Nevada.
I would also, I assume you care about fairness and accuracy in our elections, do you not?
It's not about what she cares about.
Of course.
There's evidence that there is widespread voter fraud.
So there's evidence. You can go look this up on ProPublica. There was a bipartisan consensus on the fact that mass mail-in voting can lead to fraud. There was a 2005 commission by none other than President Carter, who's not a member.
This is bullshit. Let me give you guys the numbers. Over the last 20 years, 250 million people have mailed in ballots. On average, there are problems with 7 to 8 ballots per year. Not 7%. 7 to 8 ballots per year.
On this subject, and one other different one, the president deleted his first tweet, which alleged falsely that the state of Michigan was sending out absentee ballots to every voter. In fact, they sent out absentee ballot requests. Was the president misinformed this morning? And why is he only directing this message toward Michigan, not other states like Georgia and others that are sending similar absentee ballot requests to their citizens?
So the president corrected his tweet, as you noted, and with regard to going state by state and looking at ballots and the way they're distributed, that would be a question for the Trump campaign, and I'd refer you to the campaign on that point.
On the G7, do you have any more details on the timing when the president would like to schedule that here in Washington? And does that mean that travel restrictions that are currently in place on travel from Europe, from China, and other places would potentially be relaxed before that meeting would take place here?
So I won't get into the mechanics of how that would happen. I would note that the president really wants to see the G7 happen here in Washington as we begin not just to reopen the country, but as the world begins to reopen. He'd like to see it happen sometime in June, but as to a particular date, I don't have any announcement on that front or to the mechanisms of how we'd make that work.
Yes. Thanks, Kayleigh. Couple of questions for you. One, does President Trump support the CDC guidelines that were released over the weekend? And if so, why were they released so quietly? Why not talk about them, roll them out here from the podium?
Great
so
question.
The CDC guidelines, there was a 60-page document that came out last night that I assume you're referencing. That document, I talked to Dr. Redfield earlier today about it, and much of that was already out there. So appendixes A, B, C, and D have been out there for a while. Appendix E, he said he thinks got posted sometime late last week. And again, these were his rough estimates he was giving me. Appendix F was being discussed, and there was constructive criticism of it through the task force and interagency process. So that was refined. And my point in sharing that with you is that the 60-page document was merely an aggregation of a lot of what was already out there. So it's not as if this was new information that we were announcing, but it was more guidance pursuant to our Reopening of America guidance that was issued several weeks ago.
Does the president support the guidelines? Does he think Americans should follow those guidelines, or should they be following the initial guidelines that you rolled out here from the podium?
So the president's been very clear. He supports the Reopening of America guidelines. The CDC guidelines are in concert with those guidelines. He wants to safely reopen this country. It's very important we do so, and it's good to see that most states, I think basically all of them, have plans at this point to reopen, and we're starting to see the safe reopening of several states and Americans getting back to work.
Let me just get your reaction to something. We just got moments ago a statement from the American Nurses Association which says, quote, "The American Nurses Association has not received reports from nurses or other frontline healthcare workers utilizing hydroxychloroquine as a preventative treatment for COVID-19.
Let's put her
Why
on
does
the
the president
hydroxy
continue to
page.
say that many or thousands of frontline workers are using it as a prophylactic?
Well, there is, at Henry Ford Hospital is doing a study on this now where 3,000 frontline workers will be taking hydroxychloroquine to look at its use as a prophylaxis. I believe
As
there's
a
a
prophylaxis.
few hundred or 190 workers in Tampa General Hospital. So this is being used by some. And one thing I want to note with regard to hydroxychloroquine, because I think it's very important that we're as accurate as we can be with our reporting on this. Hydroxychloroquine has been a drug that has been in use for 65 years for lupus, arthritis, and malaria. It has a very good safety profile, but as with any drug and as with any prescription, it should be given by a doctor to a patient in that context. So no one should be taking this without a prescription from their doctor. But that being said, I've seen a lot of apoplectic coverage of hydroxychloroquine. You had Jimmy Kimmel saying the president's, quote, trying to kill himself by taking it. You had Joe Scarborough saying, quote, this will kill you. Neil Cavuto saying, what have you got to lose? One thing you have to lose are lives. And you had Chris Cuomo saying the president knows that hydroxychloroquine is not supported by science. He knows it has been flagged by his own people, and he's using it. Well, Cuomo mocked the president for this. And interestingly, I found this out just before coming here. Hydroxychloroquine, of course, is an FDA-approved medication with a long proven track record for safety. And it turns out that Chris Cuomo took a less safe version of it called quinine, which the FDA removed from the market in 2006 because of its serious side effects, including death. So really interesting to have that criticism of the president. And on that note, to Chris Cuomo, I'd like to redirect him to his brother, the governor of New York, Governor Cuomo, who has several on-the-record statements about hydroxychloroquine, saying, I'm an optimist, I'm hopeful about the drug, and that's why we'll try it here in New York as soon as we get it.
That was like 2 months ago.
That it's promising, that's why we're going ahead. And I have about 8 other quotes from Governor Cuomo, should any of you have interest in that.
You just cited our studies, though. They're trials that are in their early phases. Do you have any evidence that thousands of frontline workers are currently using it because they believe it actually will prevent them from getting COVID-19?
The FDA has approved this for off-label use. You know, this president's a big believer
These are
in
not answers.
right to try legislation. People who
That's bullshit.
are their
That's not the
last.
question.
There are several studies that have been brought that the president has actually mentioned that I'd refer you to. There was one out of France, a French study,
36 people
involving more than 1,000 patients that found that the vast majority had, quote, good clinical outcomes, and by the vast majority, that was more than 90%.
Right, that's the one with no. So most people have good clinical outcomes because this is only killing 1% of people. That one didn't demonstrate it was because of the hydroxy. This is a Gish Gallop shit show, my friends. This is unbelievable.
This is a safe drug to use, and your doctor, importantly to underscore that, and your doctor prescribes it for your use as a prophylaxis or after coming into contact with COVID, then it's something you should take if it's prescribed by the doctor, and that's your personal medical choice. Yes.
Kayleigh, Governor DeSantis just suggested that the president may be going down to Florida for the SpaceX NASA launch next week. Is that accurate?
So we have no news on scheduling at that front, but if I get news in the future, I will certainly provide that for you. Yes, Jeff.
Kayleigh, how often does the president talk to Director Vogt or Acting Director Vogt from the OMB?
To who?
To the Acting Director of OMB.
The guy
often.
You just mentioned.
He just was in the Oval Office with the president, so they do speak often. I don't have a readout of the president's schedule, but they do speak regularly.
So if he wanted to flag to him his concerns about Michigan, why didn't he just tell him instead of sending a tweet?
Because the president believes in unprecedented transparency, and I'm sure you as a journalist are very eager and excited when you learn about the president's decision-making process
Trump's
in real time.
wildly accusing people of crimes on Twitter. That's not transparency, that's idiocy.
Reasoning for him expressing
I didn't say that was the
concerns?
reasoning, but I'm saying this is a transparent president, and I think that that's something that you should be lauding rather than questioning as to why he decided to tweet this. Yes.
Apart from President Macron, do you have any other answers from G7 leaders that they are definitely willing to come here?
So I won't get into the president's private conversations and correspondences with world leaders, but we do hope to see this happen. We hope that...
How can you characterize the response as being great, sounds like a good idea, or we're thinking about it?
So I don't have any information about the response from world leaders, but we certainly hope to see this happen.
Right.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Could you clarify, please, President Trump's comments about saying that it was a good idea, it was good that there were so many positive tests for for COVID-19, whereas a lot of people look at that and say that this was actually terrible, that we have actually 1/3 of all the cases in the world.
Well, look, I would note this, that
Here we go. These
the
are gonna be
president,
some
what he was
lies.
saying there is that we are testing. When you have more cases, in order to identify those cases, you have to have tested a high volume of people. So the more you test, the more cases numerically, not necessarily as a percent positive, but numerically, you will see just by volume, sheer volume of your testing. And the president's done an extraordinary job on this front.
Remember, we're 38th in testing per capita.
And state health departments and found that at least a dozen states have testing capacity that outstrips the supply of patients.
That's because they're not starting to do the surveillance testing we need to do. So that's a bullshit talking point too.
Sites and more testing capacity than we're using. So we're testing a lot, and thus we're finding a number of cases. But as we safely reopen, we do have some encouraging.
I don't even know that she believes this stuff.
To see a week-over-week decline, a 15% decline in deaths in just the last week. April 1st to mid-May, 50% decline in new hospitalization and under 25,000 cases today. So we are seeing progress. Yes.
Kayleigh, can you tell us what law specifically the president thinks the Secretary of State in Michigan broke by sending out the applications? And did the Secretary of State in Georgia also break that law by sending out applications for their
She has no idea.
Again, I'd reference you to the campaign. These are ballot questions, and I'd reference you
Why
to the
would
campaign.
you ask a campaign about state voting laws when you'd really need lawyers?
So,
thank you. Yes, but that's not a campaign question. That's the President of the United States saying that
it's a campaign
state
question
broke
on
the law.
ballot initiatives
It was
that
a
you have
campaign
in
tweet,
absentee
yeah.
ballots. So I would refer you to the campaign on that front. And I would note to you that many of those ballots that are submitted via mail can be fraudulent. I cited to you the bipartisan study. I can read
It's
it again.
simply
Maybe
not
you
an
weren't
issue. 7 to 8 fraudulent mail-in ballots per year.
a Democrat, not a Republican. And James Baker concluded that these ballots remain the largest source of potential voter fraud. So if you cast a ballot via mail and you do so fraudulently, that would be an illegal act. And I'd point you to that. And for further, I'd point you to my former employer, which is the Trump campaign.
There's 7 to 8 of those per year.
Sure.
Yes, thank you, Kayleigh. Two questions, if I may. Firstly, on airports. The TSA is reportedly considering setting up temperature checks at airports. Given the numbers of people who can be asymptomatic or sick without a fever, do you think that's sufficient? And why wasn't more done to have screening at airports sooner, particularly in light of the House oversight investigation?
Notice Trump said for months that they were already doing that. And now this guy's like, yeah, the TSA is thinking about it.
The president is working with TSA. He's working with airlines. We want to ensure that our TSA employees are safe, that those who are traveling are safe. And he has had those conversations, and we are keeping people safe at the TSA and the passengers as well.
Over 500 TSA employees have become sick, and 6 are dead. So again, do you think this has been enough action and soon enough?
We've taken action. We're working with the TSA. We're keeping America's essential workers safe, and we are praying for all of those who have been affected by coronavirus.
On another front, I wanted to ask about the president's son and business partner, Eric Trump. He recently said of coronavirus that, quote, the Democrats are trying to milk this and predicted it will, quote, magically all of a sudden go away and disappear, and everyone will be able to reopen after the election in November. Right. Do you think Eric Trump's comments are accurate and also appropriate?
I think we all hope coronavirus goes away, and I think as we continue to take the president and his family out of context, we should endeavor
That's
to
not out of context.
quote them accuracy, and I think we should all hope that the coronavirus goes.
Oh, was inaccurate?
We should all hope that the coronavirus goes away. Yes.
Is there a timeline for when UK and European Union citizens and visitors are allowed to come back into the United States? And will all European countries be included, or could it be a case-by-case basis?
So we don't have a timeline on that just yet. I can tell you the president's preeminent concern is keeping Americans safe. His travel restrictions have saved lives, as Dr. Fauci and others have noted. So we don't have an announcement as to when we'll be rolling this back. But his priority, his number one concern is America first and the health and well-being of the nation first. Yes.
Thanks, Kayleigh. A spokesman for Governor Whitmer said that she isn't planning to meet with the president and wasn't given an invitation tomorrow. I was wondering if there's a reason why
that
wouldn't meet
Governor
with
Whitmer said
in Michigan wasn't extended an invitation to the president's appearance in Michigan tomorrow, and I was wondering if there's a reason why he wasn't going to meet with her like other governors.
I don't think there was a particular reason. It didn't come up, but on that note, I would point to Governor Whitmer.
I have a mildly
sounds like she's
related
curious
page.
about an invitation, but she should be quite happy that thanks to this federal government, FEMA obligated more than $216.2 million to Michigan, 8.6 million N95 respirators, 740,018 surgical masks, 311,571 face shields. I should round these up or we'll be here all day. 760,000 gloves, 700 ventilators. The president has done quite a bit for Michigan, and her concern's an invitation, but she should be thanking the president for all the supplies that he's delivered to her state.
Right.
Yes.
Yes, Kayleigh, the president has made clear that he's concerned about liability issues as companies reopen now. Is the White House engaged with Republican senators about this issue? And would the president sign another bill, another COVID bill, without liability being addressed in that?
So I won't lay out the president's conditions or lack thereof for any upcoming legislation. He has mentioned it, that it's something that needs to be looked at closely, and he is looking at closely, and he is discussing with members of the Hill about that. But he has made clear in terms of a phase 4 that he wants to be slow as we approach a phase 4 and not rush forward with spending trillions more dollars of taxpayer money. We've done a lot so far, and he'll look at doing more in the future, and liability is definitely something that he's concerned about and working on.
Right.
Yes. It's right back there.
Oh, one more on G7. Do you think that it would be appropriate to hold a G7 summit in the U.S. while ordinary citizens are still not allowed to travel freely, for example, from Europe?
Yeah, the president wants us to start reopening. Travel restrictions are something that, he wants to make sure American lives are protected before those are lifted. But that being said, I do think it's entirely appropriate, and so does the president, to have a G7 here. America's reopening, the world's reopening.
Right, there's no
and
travel.
what a show of strength and optimism to have all of the leaders of these countries come together at the White House and pursue business as usual, and as we move forward through this pandemic.
Right.
Is there anyone I haven't
They
gotten?
want to pretend it's business as usual.
It's not. Okay, so we'll do a few more. Yeah, I had a brief answer to your question. So go ahead.
Kayleigh, Susan Rice wrote an op-ed yesterday in the New York Times that said that President Trump has kowtowed to President Xi, and also has said that called his response to the coronavirus deadly, classified as a deadly mishandling. What's the White House's response to that?
So you said that came from Susan Rice, was it? Okay, so first I would want to take a moment to address the president's response, because the president has had an extraordinary and early response to the coronavirus.
Wrong.
I would note, Dr. Birx, the early work of President Trump, both with travel restrictions and quarantine, has bought us the time and space necessary to have this task force be very effective. Dr. Fauci saying that the president's response has been impressive. You can't imagine under any circumstance that anyone could be doing anything more. I can go through the actions. There's a detailed timeline out there of January 6th, Wuhan issuing a travel notice issued on Wuhan when there were 0 cases in the United States. The 17th, 0 reported U.S. cases, and there were public health entry screenings at major U.S. airports. Of course, the infamous travel restrictions that were called xenophobic by Democrats on January 31st. A lot of action in February on developing a test and making sure
It's
we
weird, like, if Trump's response has been the best in the world, why are we one of the worst off countries in the world?
He was saying, come to Chinatown, it's very safe, but the president had already taken very early action. And I know you brought up Susan Rice in that context, but I'm going to bring her up in another context that's equally as newsworthy, and that is the email that was declassified
so you're not going to get an answer
from
okay.
Susan Rice on Inauguration Day, which is so peculiar. It set the scene. It's Inauguration Day. You're moving out of the White House. This is the most powerful building on planet Earth. Susan Rice is moving out, reflecting on her time here, and what is she doing? She's not packing her boxes. She's not
she wrote an
being
email?
nostalgic about her time in the White House. What she's doing is writing an email
God.
where 3 times she writes that President Obama emphasized to conduct the investigation into Michael Flynn by the book, by the book, by the book. She writes it 3 times. As Shakespeare said, thou doth protest too much, Susan Rice. He didn't have the Susan Rice part in there, but I'll add that in. 2, she was asked specifically about the unmasking of Michael Flynn after she discussed it on January 5th in the Oval Office with Obama after she wrote this
Did
email
she say
to her
Bill Obama? There's not anything in here that's an answer to the question.
Judy Woodruff about this email, and she's
Judy
saying about the
Wood-
unmasking of Michael Flynn, not the email, but the unmasking.
Oh.
She was asked specifically about Nunes's claim specifically. So let me
Nunes.
clarify.
This
It
is
was Nunes's
diarrhea of the
claim.
mouth. What
And
is
she
he
said,
talking about?
I know nothing about this, so it was a lie. And then Susan Rice, since no one brought it up to me, I will bring it up to you. Her attorney said that this was the first opportunity 3 weeks after this Oval Office meeting that she had to write this email memorializing her Oval Office meeting with Barack Obama discussing Michael Flynn. It was her first opportunity, she said. Interesting, because she had an opportunity in those 3 weeks on January 10th
This is really
to
bad,
do a
guys.
passing of the baton event with none other than Michael Flynn,
I'm
where she
almost feeling
praised
bad
him,
for her.
wished him success, and talked about the great transition into the White House. And then on January 12th, she was able to participate in a story that published on that date in the lifestyle section of the Washington Post. So she never had time to write this email until Inauguration Day as she's rushing out the door, when in fact she had an
The hell is
opportunity
she
to do
talking
all
about?
of those things. I'll leave that with you. Thank you for bringing up Susan Rice, not in the context that I wished, but for allowing me to share that with you.
Oh my God, she didn't even answer the question and she's just leaving. Like that, there was nothing there that was even remotely an answer to the question. That was extraordinarily embarrassing. Like that was crazy. She almost like ran out without even answering that question. Unbelievable. And how do we know how long that was? How long did that go? It's got to be about 20 minutes again. Yeah, I don't know exactly when it started. Hold on, let's see if we go back. Okay, 26 minutes. All right, so the over would have won with my 23-minute, but that was certainly pretty close. All right, thank you everybody for joining me. Very much appreciate seeing you all here. We did get to 25 members. The next stream will be the man bun stream. But until then, I will see you soon.